Hey, meteorologist James Wieland here with a look at another great episode of the Impact Zone. I know it's been a while because I've been on vacation and off of work here through Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and we had a lot of waves really through the Thanksgiving holiday, so hopefully you caught some. Little finicky at times. I know the forecast wasn't quite pegged as everybody wanted it to be. You had to go searching, but there were waves out there, and if you went searching around, you did score some. I had to drive a little bit, actually south, to score a little bit, but otherwise, not too bad. Windchop picked up today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that we're going to see a lot of windchop here in this upcoming week. And also, we're talking about the end of our 2014 hurricane season. So here's how it stacked up here too. Below average, that's no shock. We kind of thought that in the first place, and that's what it actually ended up being. Only 8 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. Not a lot of swell makers either, really. It was well below normal for waves out there. But that was about what was predicted, and you see the predicted May outlook 8 to 13, 3 to 6, 1 to 2, and that all fell within this category. So not the best of summers out there. Summers are usually bad, but not quite this bad. And well, hurricane season's done, and now we're talking about cold fronts. So let's check it out here. And what's going on in satellite here? An old frontal boundary way out here, and we have a big old high up here, and that's pumping in this east-northeasterly flow in through the state. Really, the gusty winds, everything is about from, say, Palm Beach County southward is picking up the real gusty winds. Those gusty winds are going to move a little bit northward tomorrow up towards central Florida, so it looks like wind chop pretty much for all tomorrow and the next few days. What's going to happen is one high will die on out, another high will reinforce it, and et cetera, et cetera. We're going to see a lot of wind chop this week. What we do have to watch, though, and we'll go over this a little bit later, this right down here off the tail end of this front, some of the models want to develop this into a big old extratropical low. Some model runs bring it up this way, and then here, some bring it up straight this way. Of course, this farther westward track does put it in our swell window. Our swell window is right about here, and if it goes up in there, we could see a long period swell coming back from that. We'll talk. That's in a long range, though, so don't get excited just yet. But I've already seen some posts on Facebook talking about it, so people are already seeing what's going on, and well, we're going to talk about it here coming up. First, the wind chop, though. Let's look at the buoys. This is 09 here. Notice the size isn't all that big. Again, a lot of the wind is down to the south. So let's look at the Lake Worth Pier, and it's been pretty much gusty all day. I think we had gusts up to 30 or so. Our highest one was 29. So, and that's directly onshore, east to east-northeast. So that's straight onshore. The good news is, well, there's not a lot of drift when that happens. The bad news is, well, that brings in a lot of man-o-war. I saw out there a double doozy out there today with man-o-war and jellyfish all at the same time. A lot of things to dodge out there when the waves really aren't that great and it's just wind chop. There we go. So we're going to go through the next few days here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just a lot of wind chop. I'll just speed this up because all this is just straight onshore wind chop here for the next several days. As we get into Wednesday, though, notice it starts to loosen up a little bit and maybe even turn a little bit more northeast instead of east-northeast on Wednesday. That may help out a little bit. Still a lot of fetch out here pointed towards central Florida coast. So the cleaner, probably better ways, more swell to it, groundswell to it, a little bit up coast. But all in all, still waves continuing, and it's still going to be onshore. Going through time here, let's go all the way through, oops, there we go. This thing doesn't like me today. Alright. So, we're going to see basically this wind chop start to try to taper down a little bit by the end of the week, but then it's going to crank right back up going towards the weekend. So we'll speed it up right here. Oh, that's Sunday. We sped it up a little bit too much. So let me back it up here. This is Saturday. So notice we went from Wednesday, where it tries to back off a little bit here, and then it starts to really start to tighten up again. We get another little surge here of another little trough or front coming off the coast, another high, kind of off the screen right here, but I'll put it right here anyways. Another strong high, building in that northeast Windchop. Nice fetch here, but the problem is we have this little thing developing, low pressure developing here, that's pinching off this pressure gradient here and really funneling in very strong onshore winds. So this is really going to be a blowout, and it's going to be a lot of wind, a lot of swell with it too. I mean, just look at how that just takes over. Here's the little extra tropical storm out here, but just blown to smithereens. And the latest run here, this is the 18Z run. We're still waiting for the 0Z to come in. I'll check it in a minute. But it shows it's much farther west, which really stinks, honestly. But we did have a little bit of the possibility of a cleanup going into early the next week. So let me just show you how this all pans out. I want to go back. This computer's killing me today. I so can't wait till we get new computers in this place. Oh, yeah, great. Unresponsive. Sure. Let's do it here. Trying to get through this. Anyways, let me just show you this. So the low right here. We got all this fetch. I mean, so this is a lot of wind chop, swell in there, just nastiness. What's going to happen though, the previous model run had this low moving up like this, like I said earlier. This one does not. It keeps it out here and out of our swell window. Doesn't matter though. I still think though this thing's going to blow up to be a really big thing, and even so that's going to send some long period, like 14, 15 second period swell our way. Of course the Bahamas is going to block most of it for Palm Beach County, but I still think we'll see some trickle into North County. Now the big question is whether the wind will cooperate by the time it gets here. And at first it will not, but there are some indications that things will start to get a little bit better and the wind may die off, with the next approaching system going to dive down our way. That'll turn the winds offshore here and possibly have a brief cleanup for maybe a day, maybe two of Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, we're talking long range, so 2 Wednesdays from now. Still plenty of time to watch what this thing is going to be doing. So all it is right now is a wait and see. Both models, the GFS and the European, both show this developing, but in various strengths and positions here, where the GFS is here. The European was closer, but it was much weaker than this. It was like right around here, which is great and all, but it was much weaker. Didn't have any of these reds, which is about 50 knots, so it wouldn't be quite as good. Of course, the run before this looked the best, but things do change, and I do expect it to change a bunch of times anyways before we get to, next week, for crying out loud. Just something to watch right now. What we are dealing with now is the fact that we are going to have a whole lot of wind chop for the next week. I'll update the page here, the words and the forecast when we post this video. Now, also, talking about the Arctic oscillation, we get a little bit of a break from the cold weather. In fact, you see for the next, I just showed you for the next week, all onshore wind, no cold fronts coming our way for the next week. Till maybe next Sunday, Monday time frame, we'll get the next cold front. And the Arctic oscillation either going neutral or positive a little bit for the first part of December. I know it shows a dip here. These are all the different kind of ensemble runs going through it. But for the most part, you see that the possibility of it going positive will be here, and here, down here too. You see positive before it gets to like mid-December. Then it may go down to negative, and then we may be talking about more cold weather headed our way. But for now, I think what this means for us, translated into surf speak, a lot of onshore wind, a lot of wind chop, and not a lot of big cool downs or cold fronts coming our way. Doesn't necessarily mean not a lot of waves, just maybe not a lot of quality waves, but we may have a few little cleanups in between there, so keep that in mind. Oh, look, I'm way down here. That's weird. Look at this thing. This computer's acting weird. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. That's all I can do right now because the computer's really not cooperating. But I'll have the next update. I'm off and again for another 3 days or so, and I'll have an update again by the end of the week. See you in the water. A lot of wind chop. Enjoy. Peace.